Think about the last time you walked into a hospital. Just imagine you walk through the front door. Fluorescent lights, beige or grey walls, squeaky linoleum floors, a row of plastic chairs bolted together just to make sure you don't get too comfortable. And ask yourself, who decided that a place where people are at their most frightened and vulnerable didn't deserve to be in a calm, beautiful space? More importantly, what did that decision do to the people who use these spaces? I think about the idea of beauty a lot. Maybe that's even part of why I became an artist. It's a very interesting subject to me. It sounds a bit indulgent when you look at the state of the world. People are suffering, depressed, they're starving, and sadly much more. I wonder if it would be a different place if we prioritize beauty more in our lives. I recently picked up a book called On Ugliness, edited by Umberto Eco. There's also another one called On Beauty, which I actually think is the better book, but I didn't agree with everything within these books, and we'll absolutely get into that in the future. But flicking through both of them back to back made me really stop to think. Here's what I kept coming back to. Beauty seems to be harder to find in our shared spaces, and it's happened so gradually that we barely noticed. Think about it. Hospitals, schools, government buildings, shopping centres, train stations. These places where ordinary people spend enormous chunks of their lives, we've stripped them back to function. Clean lines, efficiency, cheap to maintain. Somewhere in that process, we quietly decided that beauty was a luxury, a nice thing to have, something for museums or wealthy people's living rooms. But here's what the research and honestly just basic human experience keeps telling us, that beauty shouldn't be a luxury. It's directly tied to healing and to hope, to our sense that life is worth showing up for. There's a reason old hospitals had gardens and chapels and painted ceilings. It wasn't just decoration, it was medicine. I want to tell you about two kinds of waiting rooms. The first one, plastic chairs, a flickering overhead light, a television mounted too high on the wall. Basically have to break your neck to see it. Playing the news, of course, on mute. A red highlighted banner running across the screen, explaining the latest fear-induced catastrophe. The kind of room that makes you feel smaller and anxious just by being in it. The second room, on the other hand, a room filled with natural light. There might be a painting on the wall, colours used within the painting are intentional, colour that soothes rather than assaults, a plant or two in another corner, some proportion in the architecture that feels considered. You know, a room that shows someone has thought about the future of you sitting in this very space for whatever reason, and designed the space bearing in mind the human soul. These are two completely different experiences of being human. You see, beauty is a doorway, not just something pleasant to look at, but it's actually a threshold. It's a place where something can happen to you, where you can get changed by it. Science is actually catching up to what artists and ancient cultures have known for a very long time. Color isn't neutral. Blues and greens increase alpha brainwave activity, the kind associated with being alert but relaxed at the same time, and it activates the parasympathetic nervous system. It literally lowers your heart rate and your blood pressure. Red can do the opposite. It raises blood pressure, but if used correctly, red has healing properties. We all know the red light theories, right? The Egyptians and Greeks were deliberately using colour in rooms to affect the mental states of the people inside those rooms. They actually built entire healing temples specifically designed around colour. Sunlight would be shone through coloured gems, like rubies and sapphires, onto people who were sick. And the temple had different rooms for different colours. You'd be diagnosed and then you'd be sent to the room that held the colour that you needed. That's a medical system built entirely around the idea that colour does something to the human body. The Greeks did the same thing. They built healing temples where sunlight passed through coloured glass to create specific colour treatments. Hippocrates, the father of modern medicine, who helped separate medicine from superstition, documented the connection between colour and physical health. There is a prophet named John Paul Jackson who actually had this very interesting theory that we needed the colours held within certain vitamins to heal our bodies, not just the nutrients within the vitamins. For example, when you take vitamin C and you look at it under a polarizing light microscope, you can see the beauty within the makeup of vitamin C. The colours are extremely vibrant and it's just gorgeous to look at it. When you put that up to other things that are very hazardous to the body, like cocaine or any kind of drug or alcohol, the colours are exactly the opposite, dark and dull. So somewhere along the way, we decided that all of these things were just a bit too primitive. We moved on to efficiency and fluorescent lighting and beige walls, and we stripped the colour out and we called it progress. My whole studio is filled with plants. Don't even get me started on plants. I didn't need science to tell me that this was good for the body and the soul. I just felt the difference of being in spaces where there is greenery and life and colour. Just looking at a picture of a plant has been shown to lower stress levels. In one hospital study, patients in a waiting room exposed to either a real plant or simply a poster of a plant both showed lower stress than those with nothing. Research has also shown that indoor plants can improve attention, your memory and your productivity, and meaningfully reduce stress levels. There's even research showing that being around plants improves cortisol levels, so that's our stress hormone. So when we strip these things out of spaces where people spend their lives, like schools and hospitals and offices, we're not just making them uglier, we're making them measurably harder to be human in. These are only two examples, plants and colour, but we wonder why people are feeling so hollow and depressed. Why is anxiety everywhere? I'm really excited that the conversation around this has definitely taken off over the past few years, and I'm sure change is about to happen. In the next video, I want to get into what beauty actually is, because it's a harder question than it sounds, and Umberto Eco and I have some things to work out between us. If that sounds like your kind of rabbit hole, I'll see you there.